Let me ask you something. How many of you are tired? Show of hands. Not sleepy tired, not I need a nap tired. I mean bone tired, soul tired. The kind of tired that comes from waking up every single morning and having to fight again for the right to simply exist. Me too. And here's the thing about that. Here's the thing that keeps me up at night and gets me out of bed every single morning. We have been tired before, and we are still here. Now, I'm not a polished person. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon or a clean path forward. I came up the way a lot of us do, with grit, with stubbornness, and with what we out here in the Ozarks call Ozark engineering. Do you know what Ozark engineering is? It's when you don't have the right tool or the right part or the right resources, and you make it work anyway. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to work. And it just has to last long enough until a better thing comes along. And that's how I've survived. And that's how many of us have survived. And I'll tell you something else. Something I say because someone in this crowd needs to hear it. I'm gay, and I'm trans. And I've Ozark engineered my transition the same way I've engineered everything else in my life. Imperfect, stubborn, and built to meet the moment. I don't look the way that people expect a trans person to look. And I know that someone standing here in this crowd doesn't either. Someone who's been told they're not trans enough, not queer enough, not old enough to know that they're trans, not visible enough to belong. You belong. We both do. I have duct taped myself, you have duct taped yourself, we have duct taped ourselves back together when the world tried to tear us apart. We have wired ourselves with whatever we had on hand. We have built community out of scraps and love out of nothing. And we have lasted. And we are still here. And I want you to hold on to that for a moment. Really hold it. Because in this particular moment in history, that is not a small thing. That is everything. So let's be honest about what's happening, because I believe we deserve honesty. This administration, this coordinated, deliberate machinery of cruelty has come for us. Not sideways, not quietly, directly. They have signed executive orders trying to erase transgender people from federal recognition. They have moved to strip gender-affirming care from young people who need it to survive. They have weaponized the Department of Education, the Department of Defense, the very machinery of the federal government, and have turned it towards our children. Our children. They are banning books that let a queer kid know they are not alone. They are firing federal workers for having a pride flag on their desk. They are trying to write us out of existence, legally, medically, officially, as if the ink on a policy document could make us disappear. So let me tell you something about trans people of color in this country. They are dying. Literally dying. Not metaphorically, not politically, literally. The violence against trans women of color, Black trans women, Latina trans women, is a crisis that was already a crisis before this administration poured gasoline on the fire. Their names deserve to be spoken. Their lives deserve protection. Their deaths demand that we do not look away. And our trans youth. Let me speak directly to any young person who is watching or listening right now, who is scared, who has been told by a governor or a legislator or a school board that they are a problem to be solved. You are not a problem. You are the future, and we will not abandon you. Now let me tell you what they don't teach in history class. They don't tell you that in 1969 at a bar called the Stonewall Inn in New York City, it was a trans woman Black and brown trans women who threw the first punches, who said enough, who started a revolution while the rest of the world was looking the other way. They don't tell you about Marsha P. Johnson, a Black trans woman who survived on almost nothing and gave everything she had to her community, who was found dead in the Hudson River. Her death ruled a suicide, despite the evidence, because some lives are still considered disposable by people in power. They don't tell you about Sylvia Rivera, who was chased away from the very movement she helped build, who stood on stage at a Pride rally in 1973 and was booed, and stood her ground anyway, because she understood that the most vulnerable members are the measure of a community's integrity. Harvey Milk stood in front of a crowd not so different from this one, and he said, "You gotta give him hope." And 6 months later, he was murdered. And yet, the hope didn't die with him, because hope is not a person. It is not a politician. Hope is not a bill or a ballot measure or a Supreme Court ruling. Hope is what happens when people like us, people who have every reason to give up, choose not to. We have been criminalized, we have been pathologized, we have been institutionalized and electrocuted and prayed over and preached at and legislated against, and we are still here. We survived Anita Bryant. We survived the AIDS crisis when the government let hundreds of thousands of us die and called it God's justice. We survived Don't Ask, Don't Tell. We survived the Defense of Marriage Act. We survived a decade of bathroom bills and trans military bans and every moral panic they have manufactured to make us into monsters. And we have survived it all with Ozark engineering and stubbornness and love and each other. So I want to tell you a little bit about the world that I'm fighting for. I dream of a day when our trans children do not lie awake at night wondering whether their state will take their medicine away. I dream of a day where a trans woman can walk into any emergency room in America, in Arkansas, in Kansas, in Idaho, in Texas, and be treated with dignity and competence and care the same as everyone else. I dream of a day when the ID in your wallet reflects who you are, not who some legislature decided you should be, not who you were assigned at birth, but you. Simply, fully, legally, you. I dream of a day when a trans person of color can walk down any street in this country without calculating the risk. I dream of a day when healthcare for trans people is as unremarkable as healthcare for anyone else. When you walk into a doctor's office and ask for what you need and they say yes. Not after a 6-month waiting period, not after a letter from 3 different specialists, not after proving your transness to a gatekeeping stranger, just yes, here is what you need to be well. I dream of a day when our authenticity is not a state-by-state proposition, when it does not matter which side of a border you live on, when being fully yourself is not a geographic privilege. And most of all, I dream of a day when we do not need hope in this way, when hope is not a survival strategy, when hope is just Tuesday, when we exist in peace, not celebrated, not tolerated, just at peace. Unremarkably, beautifully, finally at peace. That is the world I'm building towards, and that is the world you deserve. That is the world our children deserve. But we are not there yet. And so here's what I need from you today. On this day, in this beautiful, weird little town that has always made room for the ones the rest of the world turned away, I need you to stay. Stay visible, stay stubborn, stay connected to each other, because isolation is their weapon and community is ours. I need you to fight. I need you to fight. I need you to vote like your life depends on it, because for a lot of us, it does. Show up to city councils and school boards and state legislatures, even when it's boring and exhausting and feels useless. It is not useless. Your presence is resistance. And if you can't show up, if your work won't let you off, if you can't afford the trip or your body won't make the journey, then fund the people who can. Cover somebody's tank of gas, chip in to pay for their hotel room, make the sandwiches. And while we're at it, some of y'all need to run. I'm serious. Look at this crowd. You are looking at future city council members, future school board members, future judges, Jim over there, and mayors and state representatives. We have members of Congress who wouldn't pass a driver's test on their best day. And yet, somehow, we handed them the keys to the most powerful country on earth and watched them aim it straight for the ditch. If your grandpa was driving like this, you would have taken his keys by now. So take the damn keys. But to do that, we actually have to get in the car. Don't wait for the big race. The big race doesn't determine what library books your kids can read. The big race doesn't determine whether your local health clinic stays open. Local races do. School board races do. Quorum court races do. And queer people win those races every single day in places that would surprise you, because our neighbors know us, and knowing us changes minds. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? I need you to hold the most vulnerable among us, our trans youth, our trans elders, our trans siblings of color, who are bearing the heaviest weight of this moment. Check in on them, fund them, protect them, and say their names. And I need you to remember, to really remember, in your body, in your bones, that you come from people who survived the unsurvivable. They tried to erase us before, and they failed. This administration, with all of its executive orders and its culture war and its manufactured outrage, it is not the first machine that has tried to grind us down. And we will not be the last. But we are still here, and we will stay here, and we will outlast every single one of them. Not because we are perfect, not because we have all of the right tools, not because the path is clear, but because we are stubborn. Because we do what we have always done. We Ozark engineer it. We find a way, we make it work, we hold each other up, we last long enough for the next best thing. This is Eureka Springs. This has always been a place where the misfits made something beautiful. We are still making it. We are not done. We are still here, and we're not going anywhere. Thank you.